I stood at the entrance of the Winslow mansion, my worn jacket suddenly feeling heavier than usual. The marble steps gleamed under the afternoon sun, mocking my scuffed shoes. I'd been married to Laura for 6 months, but her father Barrett still looked at me like I was dirt on his expensive carpet. Today was Sunday dinner, and I knew what was coming. Barrett always found new ways to remind me I wasn't good enough for his daughter. I rang the doorbell, my heart pounding. When the door opened, Barrett's cold eyes swept over me with disgust. So the poor boy finally arrived. He announced loudly enough for everyone inside to hear. "Come in, I suppose. Though I don't recall giving you permission to marry into this family." Elora appeared behind him, her face apologetic. I forced a smile and stepped inside, knowing this dinner would be worse than all the others. Barrett had that look, the one that meant he was planning something cruel. Barrett led me to the dining room where his wife Helene and son Tristan waited. The table was set with crystal and silver that probably cost more than most people's cars. "Sit there," Barrett pointed to the far end, away from the family. "Actually, wait. Who gave you permission to sit at my table?" The room went silent. Elora's hand flew to her mouth. "Dad, please," she whispered. But Barrett raised his hand, silencing her. "No, Elora. I've been too patient. This nobody walks into our lives, marries my daughter, and expects what? To be treated like he belongs here?" His voice dripped with contempt. "You're a burden, Kaylin, a weight around her neck." I felt my face burn, but I kept my expression calm. Years of hiding my true identity had taught me patience. "I love your daughter, sir," I said quietly. Barrett laughed, a harsh sound. "Love? Love doesn't pay bills. Love doesn't build empires." He leaned forward. "After dinner, we'll discuss whether this marriage continues." The meal was torture. Barrett made cutting remarks between every course, comparing me to successful men he knew. Tristan smirked whenever his father spoke, clearly enjoying my humiliation. Helene ate in silence, avoiding my eyes. Only Elora tried to defend me, but her father shut her down each time. "You need to prove yourself," Barrett finally declared, pushing his plate away. "Get a real job. Stop living off my daughter like a parasite." He turned to Tristan with pride. "My son works for the most prestigious estate management company in the city. Billion-dollar properties, exclusive clients. That firm is owned by a real man, someone who built an empire from nothing." I almost choked on my water. Barrett was talking about my company, Kaylin Holdings. I use a different last name for business, so the Winslows had no idea. "That's the kind of success I respect," Barrett continued, staring at me. "Not whatever pathetic existence you're clinging to." 2 days later, Elora found me in our small apartment. We'd chosen to live modestly, away from her family's mansion. She loved the simplicity, but I knew it bothered her father. "Kaylin, I need to tell you something," she said, sitting beside me. Her eyes were red from crying. "My family has always been like this. They judge everyone by their bank accounts." She took a shaky breath. "Before you, I was engaged to someone else. His name was Vincent. He came from a good family, had a decent job, but it wasn't enough for Dad. Barrett destroyed him, piece by piece, until Vincent couldn't take it anymore. He left town." My chest tightened. "Elora, I'm scared," she interrupted. "I'm scared of losing you too. Barrett won't stop until he breaks us apart." I pulled her close, wanted to tell her the truth. But revealing my identity now would look like I was trying to prove something to her father. "He won't break us. I promised." The next morning, Barrett called my phone. "Be at the Imperial Estate Management Building at 10, he ordered. "You're going to see what real work looks like." I recognized the address. It was my headquarters. My assistant had mentioned Tristan worked in the property acquisition department, but I'd never interfered with his career. As the owner, I operated under a different name and rarely visited the main office, preferring to work remotely. At 10 sharp, I arrived wearing my usual simple clothes. Barrett stood by his luxury car, looking disgusted at my appearance. "Try not to embarrass yourself," he muttered. Inside, Tristan greeted us with confidence, showing off his office on the 3rd floor. "This is where the magic happens, Dad," he boasted, not even acknowledging me. The staff bustled around efficiently. My staff, following systems I designed. Impressive, isn't it? Barrett said to me mockingly, "This is what success looks like. Something you'll never understand." Then it happened. My senior executive, Mrs. Pemberton, walked past. Mrs. Pemberton's eyes widened when she saw me. She'd been with the company for 15 years and knew exactly who I was. Our eyes met, and I gave the slightest shake of my head. She understood immediately, her expression smoothing into professional neutrality. But she couldn't help herself. "Excuse me," she said, approaching our group. "Sir, may I speak with you for a moment?" She was looking at me. Barrett frowned. "He doesn't work here. Whatever you need, it's fine," I said quickly. "What is it?" Mrs. Pemberton pulled me aside, lowering her voice. "Should I address you properly? The staff should know." "No," I whispered firmly. "Not yet. Continue as normal." She nodded, but concern filled her eyes. "Understood, sir." When I returned, Barrett was watching suspiciously. What was that about? She thought I was someone else. I lied smoothly. Tristan laughed. "See? Even the secretary thinks you're nobody." But Barrett wasn't laughing. Something had shifted in his expression. Doubt, maybe curiosity. He was too sharp not to notice something was off. That evening, Alora came home looking shaken. "I overheard Dad on the phone," she said, her voice trembling. "He's planning something, Kaylin. He told someone he's going to humiliate you publicly. Make it so embarrassing that you'll leave on your own." My jaw clenched. What exactly did he say? "He's hosting a dinner party next week. He's inviting all his wealthy friends, and he wants you there specifically. He said he's going to expose you as a fraud, a nobody living off his daughter's money." She grabbed my hands. "Please, let's just not go. We can skip it. Say we're sick." "No," I said firmly. "I'll go." "But why?" "He's trying to destroy you." "Because running away won't solve anything." I looked into her worried eyes, wishing I could explain that her father was walking into a trap of his own making. The dinner party might actually be the perfect opportunity. 2 days later, a formal invitation arrived. Thick cream paper, embossed lettering. Mr. Kalen Ross. It read, "Your presence is mandatory." The dinner party was exactly as awful as I'd expected. Barrett's mansion blazed with lights, and luxury cars lined the circular driveway. Inside, men in expensive suits and women dripping with jewels mingled in the grand hall. I arrived in my best clothes, still simple compared to theirs, and immediately felt every eye turned toward me. "Ah, there he is." Barrett's voice boomed across the room. "Everyone meet my son-in-law, Kalen. Unemployed, uneducated, and entirely dependent on my daughter's kindness." Laughter rippled through the crowd. Alora's face went pale beside me. "Barrett, that's enough," Helene said quietly, but he ignored her. No, let's be honest. These good people should know what kind of man Alora chose." He gestured grandly. "While my son Tristan builds his career at one of the city's most prestigious firms, Kalen here. Well, what exactly do you do, Kalen?" "I manage investments," I said calmly. The laughter grew louder. "Investments?" Barrett slapped his knee. "Did you hear that? He manages investments." Then something unexpected happened. One of the guests, an older gentleman named Mr. Fitzgerald, stepped forward. "Barrett, which firm did you say your son works for?" "Imperial Estate Management," Barrett said proudly. "The owner is absolutely brilliant, though no one's ever met him. Very private man." Mr. Fitzgerald nodded slowly. "I've tried to get meetings with their owner for years. Incredible portfolio." He turned to me with polite curiosity. "You said you manage investments, Kalen. What's your area of focus?" This was dangerous territory, but I couldn't resist. "Real estate, primarily. Commercial properties, luxury estates." "Interesting. Do you know anything about Imperial Estate Management?" Barrett snorted. "Of course he doesn't. Stop embarrassing the boy, Fitzgerald." But I met Mr. Fitzgerald's gaze steadily. "I know the company well. Actually, very well." The room quieted. Barrett's smile faltered. "You're lying. You don't know anything about that world. Mr. Fitzgerald raised an eyebrow. Let's test that. Kalen, Imperial just acquired the Meridian Tower last month. Can you tell me what made that deal particularly complex? Every eye was on me. I could have deflected, but Barrett's smug expression pushed me forward. The Meridian Tower deal was complex because of the zoning restrictions. I said, clearly, the previous owner had violated building codes, which meant they had to negotiate with 3 separate city departments before the sale could close. There was also a dispute with the neighboring property over shared utilities that required restructuring the entire service agreement. Mr. Fitzgerald's eyes widened. That's exactly right. How do you know that? Lucky guess. I said, but my heart was pounding. Barrett's face had gone red. He probably read about it somewhere. Anyone could... Actually, no, Mr. Fitzgerald interrupted. Those details weren't public. That information would only be available to someone inside the company or directly connected to the ownership. Tristan suddenly looked nervous. Dad, maybe we should... Are you connected to the owner? Mr. Fitzgerald asked me directly. The question hung in the air. I could feel Alora's confused stare, Barrett's fury, Tristan's growing panic. I know him, I said simply. We're close. After the party. Tristan cornered me in the hallway while Barrett entertained his guests. You're lying, he hissed. You don't know the owner. You're making this up to embarrass my father. I stayed calm. Believe what you want, Tristan. I worked there. I've worked there for 2 years. If you really knew the owner, I would know about it. His voice was desperate now, almost pleading. You're trying to make me look bad, trying to seem important. I'm not trying anything, I said. Your father asked questions, and I answered honestly. Liar. Tristan's voice rose. I'll prove you're a fraud. I have access to company files, employee records, everything. I'll find proof that you're nobody, and then Dad will throw you out for good. He was shaking with jealousy, with fear that maybe I wasn't lying. You're going to destroy yourself if you're not careful, I warned him quietly. Leave it alone, Tristan. But he was already walking away, pulling out his phone, probably planning how to access restricted files. I felt a headache forming. 3 days later, Tristan went too far. Using his employee credentials, he accessed executive-level files he had no business seeing. He was looking for evidence to discredit me, but instead, he found something that made his blood run cold. In the secure documents folder, there was a signature authorization form, the kind only the owner could sign. The signature read K. Ross in distinctive handwriting. Tristan's hands trembled as he pulled out an old birthday card I'd once signed for Alora, which he'd seen at his parents' house. He held the 2 signatures side by side. They were identical. No, he whispered to himself in his empty office. No, no, no. It can't be him. His mind raced through every interaction, every time his father had mocked me, every insult about my poverty. If Kalen Ross was really the owner, if the nobody they'd been humiliating was actually the billionaire who controlled his entire career, then everything was about to collapse. Tristan grabbed his phone, then stopped. Who could he tell? His father would never believe him. Tristan decided to confront me directly. He showed up at our apartment late one evening, pushing past Alora when she answered the door. We need to talk, he demanded. Now. I closed my laptop calmly. What's this about? You know exactly what this is about. He pulled out printed documents, throwing them on the coffee table. I found your signature in company files. Executive files. Files only the owner can access. Alora looked confused. What are you talking about? Tell her, Tristan said to me. Tell her who you really are. I stayed silent, which only made him angrier. You've been lying to everyone. You're not poor. You're not some nobody. You're careful, Tristan. I warned. Whatever you think you know, I know everything, he shouted. You own Imperial Estate Management. You own the company where I work, where Dad thinks I'm so successful. This whole time, you've been playing us. Before I could respond, we heard a key in the lock. Barrett walked in. Alora had given him a spare key for emergencies. Barrett took in the scene, his son angry and flushed, documents scattered everywhere, me sitting calmly on the couch. What's going on here? Dad, Tristan said urgently. Listen to me. Kaylin is threatening you. Barrett's face darkened. He'd misread the situation entirely. I knew it. I knew this parasite would show his true colors eventually. No, you don't understand, Tristan tried to explain. I understand perfectly. Barrett advanced on me, his voice venomous. You think you can threaten my son? Try to intimidate him because you married my daughter? That's not what's happening, I said, standing up. Dad, please, just listen. Tristan begged, but Barrett was past listening. The weeks of contempt boiled over into rage. You're a liar, a fraud, and a parasite. I want you out of this family. Out of my daughter's life. You're nothing, Kaylin. Nothing. Elora started crying. Dad, stop it. Pack your things, Barrett told her coldly. You're coming home. This marriage is over. I'm not leaving him, she sobbed. Barrett's eyes were ice. Then you're both dead to me. The next morning, Barrett received an email from Imperial Estate Management. The subject line read, Urgent board meeting, your presence required. He assumed it was about a potential investment opportunity. He'd been trying to get his foot in the door at Imperial for months, hoping to leverage Tristan's position there. At 10 o'clock, he arrived at the headquarters building, taking the executive elevator to the top floor. The receptionist seemed flustered when she saw him. Mr. Winslow, the boardroom is ready. Please follow me. The boardroom was intimidating. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, a massive table of polished dark wood. Several executives were already seated, and standing by the window, speaking quietly to Mrs. Pemberton, was me. Barrett froze. What is he doing here? He demanded. Mrs. Pemberton looked uncomfortable. Mr. Winslow, please take a seat. We'll begin shortly. I asked a question. Why is that nobody in a restricted-level meeting? The executives exchanged glances. No one answered. I turned slowly, my expression unreadable. Hello, Barrett. Glad you could make it. Barrett's confusion was turning to panic, though he tried to hide it. Someone explain what's going on. This is a board meeting, not a Mr. Winslow. One of the executives interrupted gently. We're waiting for the owner to begin. Fine, Barrett snapped. Where is he? The executives looked at each other. Mrs. Pemberton spoke carefully. Mr. Winslow, there are some concerns we need to discuss regarding your son's employment here. That caught his attention. Concerns? Tristan is an excellent employee. If someone's been complaining, it's not about a performance, I said calmly. It's about yours. Excuse me. Your behavior, Barrett. The way you treat people you consider beneath you. The way you've treated me, specifically. Barrett's face flushed. You have no right to be in this room, let alone speak to me like, actually, I have every right. I moved to the head of the table. You see, this is my company, my boardroom, my building. The room went silent. Barrett stared at me, his mouth opening and closing. That's impossible. You're nobody. You're poor. I didn't reveal everything. Not yet. I wanted Barrett to understand gradually, to feel the weight of his mistakes piece by piece. I'm not here to embarrass you, I said. I'm here to discuss your behavior toward employees. Employees? What are you talking about? Barrett's voice shook slightly. You've been using your son's position here to bully and manipulate people, haven't you? Calling in favors, expecting special treatment. I don't know what lies you've been told, but your son accessed confidential files without authorization 3 days ago, Mrs. Pemberton said, consulting her tablet. We have logs of everything. Barrett's eyes widened. Tristan wouldn't. He stopped, realizing he was about to admit knowledge of Tristan's illegal access. Who exactly are you? He asked me, his voice barely a whisper. I'm someone who values respect, I said. Someone who built something from nothing, just like you claim to admire. I nodded to Mrs. Pemberton. We're putting several of Mr. Winslow's active projects under review. Ethical concerns. Ethical concerns? Barrett jumped up. You can't do this. I have contracts, agreements, which require ethical compliance clauses. I finished. We take those seriously here. Over the next week, Barrett's world began crumbling. Two of his major real estate deals were frozen pending investigation. His bank started asking questions about his financing sources. His prestigious reputation took hit after hit. Finally, he went to Tristan, desperate. "You work there. You have connections. Fix this." Tristan looked miserable. "Dad, I've been trying to tell you. I know Kaylin owns everything. Don't be ridiculous. That poor boy couldn't own a bicycle, let alone his signature. Dad, it's in all the executive files. Kaylin Ross, the owner nobody's ever met, the one you kept praising. It's him." Barrett sat down heavily. "That's impossible. I saw the documents. I compared signatures. It's him." For a long moment, Barrett was silent. Then, No, he would have said something. He would have told Allura. This is a trick, some kind of elaborate con. But doubt had crept into his voice. Tristan could hear it. What if it's not? Tristan asked quietly, "What if you've been insulting and humiliating the man who controls my entire career? Who could destroy both of us with one phone call?" That night, Barrett showed up at our apartment, his expensive car parked crookedly outside. He pounded on the door until I answered. "I want the truth," he demanded, pushing inside. "Right now." Allura stood behind me, confused and frightened. "Dad, is it true?" Barrett's face was desperate. "Are you the owner of Imperial Estate Management?" I met his eyes steadily. "Why does it matter? Last week I was a nobody. Has anything about me actually changed?" "Don't play games with me. I'm not playing anything. You made assumptions about who I was based on my clothes and my bank account. You never asked about my actual life. So you've been lying this whole time?" "No," I said firmly. "I never lied. I just didn't correct your assumptions." I walked to my desk and pulled out a document, my business registration, my tax returns, proof of ownership. I didn't show him everything, but enough to make his face go white. "You," he whispered. "My son works for you." He couldn't finish. The reality was too crushing. The next day, someone knocked softly on our door. It was Helene, Barrett's wife. She looked tired, older than I'd ever seen her. "May I come in?" she asked quietly. Allura let her in, surprised. Her mother had never visited our apartment before. "I came to apologize," Helene said, sitting delicately on our worn couch. "I should have done this months ago. Years ago, really." She looked at me with genuine regret. Barrett's pride has always been his weakness. He judges people by their wealth because he came from nothing himself. He's terrified of being poor again, so he projects that fear onto everyone else. "Mom," Allura said softly, "I know it doesn't excuse his behavior, but I've been a coward, staying silent while he hurt people." She turned to me. "You didn't deserve any of it, Kaylin. The insults, the humiliation. And now," she paused. "Now Barrett is planning to sell part of his company. He's desperate to recover from the frozen projects. He thinks if he can raise capital, he can prove he's still powerful." What Helene didn't know, what Barrett didn't know, was that I'd already positioned myself as the buyer. Through a shell corporation I controlled, I'd made an offer on Barrett's struggling real estate company. The price was fair, even generous. Barrett, desperate and running out of options, accepted without doing proper due diligence on the buyer. He was too panicked to ask the right questions. The contracts were drawn up quickly. Barrett signed away controlling interest in his company to save himself from financial ruin. He thought he was selling to a group of anonymous investors. The papers went through. The money transferred. And just like that, I owned a majority stake in Barrett Winslow's company. He'd spent months trying to prove I was nothing, trying to drive me away from his daughter. And now I controlled his entire business empire. I didn't tell anyone yet. I wanted Barrett to feel secure for a moment, to think he'd solved his problems. Then I would show him the truth. 2 weeks later, Barrett received another summons to Imperial Estate Management. This time, the email was more formal. Executive meeting, mandatory attendance, recent acquisitions. He arrived confident, believing his financial troubles were behind him. The elevator took him to the top floor again. The same boardroom, the same executives. But this time, when he entered, I was already seated at the head of the table. "What is this?" Barrett demanded, though his voice lacked its usual strength. "Sit down, Barrett," I said calmly. Mrs. Pemberton stood and began presenting a slideshow. 2 weeks ago, Winslow Properties sold controlling interest to Cascade Holdings, LLC. What you didn't realize, Mr. Winslow, is that Cascade Holdings is a subsidiary of Imperial State Management. Barrett's face went pale. "No, that's not, which means," I continued, "that I now own your company. You work for me." The room spun around him. He grabbed the edge of the table. You can't. I can show you the contracts if you'd like. Your signature is right there." Barrett didn't yell. He didn't rage. He simply collapsed. Not physically, but something inside him broke. Tears filled his eyes as the full weight of his actions crashed down on him. "My son works for you," he whispered. "My company belongs to you. And I—" He looked up at me, his face crumbling. "I called you nothing. I treated you like garbage. I tried to destroy your marriage. I didn't gloat. I didn't mock him. I simply stated facts. You judged me without knowing me. You assumed poverty meant worthlessness. You tried to humiliate me at every opportunity, just to prove you were better." "I know," he choked out. "I know. God help me, I know." The executives watched in uncomfortable silence. "Every insult," I continued. "Every attempt to make Alora leave me. Every time you made me feel small. I remember all of it, Barrett." He was crying openly now. "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." I pulled out the contract he'd signed, the one transferring his company to me. I placed it on the table. "Here's the deal I'm offering you." Barrett looked at the contract through tear-filled eyes. "You can have it all back," I said. "Your company, your control, everything. But there are conditions." He nodded weakly. "Anything. First, you apologize to Laura. A real apology, not just words. You admit how you've hurt her, manipulated her, and tried to control her life." "Yes," he whispered. "Second, you stop judging people by their bank accounts. You treat people with basic human respect, regardless of their wealth." "I will." "And third," I said, my voice harder now, "you accept that your daughter married someone who loves her, someone who would do anything for her, someone who happened to have money but didn't flaunt it because that's not what matters." Barrett was fully crying now. "You could have told me. At any point you could have. Would you have believed me? Or would you have thought I was lying, trying to impress you?" He had no answer for that. "I'll sign whatever you want," he finally said. "I'll do whatever it takes." I slid the contract across the table. "Then choose, Barrett, your pride or your family." 3 months later, things had changed. Barrett signed a contract that day, agreeing to all my terms. I returned his company's shares but kept one seat on his board, just enough to ensure he kept his word. The real work was harder than signing papers. Barrett had to learn humility, had to face what his pride had nearly cost him. He started attending family dinners at our small apartment instead of demanding we come to his mansion. He asked about my day, about my work, and actually listened. Slowly, painfully, he became the father-in-law Alora deserved. One evening, he arrived with flowers for both of us. "I owe you both everything," he said simply. "Kaylin, you could have destroyed me. Instead, you gave me a chance to be better." Alora hugged him, tears in her eyes. They both waited so long for this. "I was never the enemy," I said. "I just wanted to love your daughter." Barrett looked at me with something that might have been respect, might have been gratitude. "You were never the fool," he said quietly. "I was." And for the first time since I'd met him, Barrett Winslow smiled at me, a real smile, genuine and warm. We had a long way to go, but we'd made a start.